This is Rooted Cosmic Soul, sacrificing the patriarchy from a broom closet in the here and the there, offering rememberings in times of chaos and bullshit. I'm doing sort of a special episode because I'm actually gonna drop this as soon as I finish recording it. So it won't have an episode number, sort of out of sequence, but I feel drawn to do that. I did a collective insight session a few days ago, engaging our current Venus retrograde moment, and I asked the divine feminine energy of this moment to offer insight for us. And after doing that, I watched an astrologer talk about the Venus retrograde time, and I was really pleased to see the synergy between what she was sharing and what I shared. So I've actually left the layout up in my on my divination altar, and I've been walking past it, right? I've been looking at it because the message is for the collective. So I was also thinking about the ways in which I could incorporate that message in my own life. And I was really struck today by the card that's in the right-hand corner, and I'll link that reading to this recording. But I was really drawn to the bearing fruit because I'm thinking about, like, what are the ways in which this moment with Venus being in retrograde is really helping us to revisit the way in which we think, right? So I'm going to move to the I, but it's only because that's just one of my practices to help me remain present and intentional around my own growth. But use your discernment. Maybe this speaks to you as well. But I'm definitely experiencing this Venus retrograde as a moment of, like, really tender parts of who I have not only who've told myself I believe I am, but it's really interesting. It's what this bearing fruit card is more helping me see the ways in which I have created thoughts and beliefs around who I believe the world to be, and that connection to my place in it, and then what that means and what that generates, and really realizing that, like, that bearing fruit card is about what are we manifesting, like, the fruit that will be bared from this fertile void moment of Venus retrograde will be a mirror of what's going on inside. And so it had me also thinking about this idea of, like, I have an episode on here about self-inquiry, and that I experience the world as those of us whose love language is self-inquiry are outnumbered by those who are not. And that could be true, but even if it's not, if I'm, like, really moving from that belief, then that's going to be my reality. And then that's going to create this world that I'm experiencing, in which, I struggle with belonging and connecting and finding the quirkiness of my witchiness to be something that others me. And so I feel like right now, Venus in particular, but all of the planets, including Earth, because they're all in synergy with each other, is offering those of us who want to step into the self-inquiry of, like, what are the things we want to relearn? What are, particularly those really personal things about how we see the world, how we see ourselves, how we view, I guess you could go through all the houses of the natal chart, and depending on, what's getting activated with this Venus retrograde can really help you, sink into what's the learning there, you know? And it's ironic that, for me, this idea of like my perception that the community of folks who are interested in self-inquiry don't exist. My this Venus retrograde, and pretty much all the planets right now are pinging my 11th house, which is about belonging, community, friendships, partnerships, all that kind of stuff. It also has me thinking about this idea of self-awareness versus self-absorption. And I think I may talk about that in an episode in and of itself soon, but it leads me back to even just the things that I believe. Like, I've always said there's a difference between self-awareness and self-absorption. And I do think there's a difference. And I also am starting to consider, like, how are my beliefs about that still colored by the fact that I grew up in a severely toxic, misogynistic, racist, harmful construct, that the last thing it wants us to do is to be self-aware, and that my concept of self-absorption is being defined by rugged individualism of white supremacy and the false notion that we are in this all by ourselves and there's no connection to other people or to planet. And what could happen for me in terms of an opening if I start thinking about self-absorption from this idea of self-inquiry, and that there is this self-inquiry, self-awareness, self-absorption, to be thinking about it while I'm grounded in the tenets of the divine feminine, which is about going into that fertile void of the self to let things percolate, to let things become clear, to let the old die and to birth the new. It's just a lot that I'm thinking about at the moment, and I wanted to share that because it felt necessary to share, and I'm curious how that's landing on folks. Like, I've never asked people to leave comments, but I am curious. So if you're listening to this and you're so moved, I would love to hear your take on this. And yeah, I'm just feeling into if there's anything else I feel moved to talk about with this idea of bearing fruit. So yeah, I'm being reminded today that we all have the power to imagine, create, and foster, in the tangible world and in the spiritual world. And in this moment of Venus retrograde, we're really being supported to hone in on what is that? What exactly is that? And is it aligned with who I actually tell myself I am and really desire to be? And that does take, for me, it takes some serious transmuting of all the bullshit that I've been taught by misogyny, internalized patriarchy, white supremacy, internalized anti-blackness, internalized homophobia, like all these ways that I may not tell myself consciously I don't believe in these ways of othering, but I've been in a society my entire life and for multiple generations that have been conditioned to move from those energies. And if I'm not being really conscious of the ways in which that's embedded in me, then I am going to move that way. And this moment in time, the divine feminine is really offering us the planetary energy to find those. So I'm super grateful for that, and I hope that whoever this is helpful to it is helpful to, and that you two are able to use this time in a way that helps you transmute the I. Take care of yourselves. This is Rooted Cosmic Soul, sacrificing the patriarchy from our broom closet. The energy here stays here. The energy there stays there. I'll send to you later. Return when moved to do so. Same Bruja time, same Bruja channel.